Yo, what's up, everybody? What's
What's
going
going
on,
on?
man?
What's going
What's
on?
going on, bro?
Brothers.
Yeah, Clark Dynasty in the building. And yo, this time we're bringing a new show to you, a new take, the Sports Fanatake.
Yep,
Sports
here we
Fanatic.
go.
That's
We're
right.
talking about all things sports, man.
All things
Everything out
sports,
there.
everything
Sports
going on.
topics only.
Yep, sports topics only. And we have a good show to start off with. We're going to uh analyze the Stephen A. Smith rant against Paul George and Jackie Long. I'm still trying to figure out who Jackie Long
Wait,
is, but that's a whole
you
other
talk about
story.
50, one of 50 girls, right? That's one of 50
Yeah,
dudes.
exactly. I'm like, I still don't remember where he
Jackie
was
Long.
in Power, but or
Oh,
BMF or wherever he was
he
at.
was in Power for like 3 episodes before Mary J. Blige put him in a spliff. So don't worry about
Got
it.
you.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that one. Yeah, that was Jackie Long.
Okay. One of the many bodies of Monet.
Right, you
Yeah.
ain't special.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do with that, and then we'll end it off and talk some other trending sports that's going on. It's your boy Wes, your boy Heaven Hollywood, and Wonder Kid Prime, and we are here to break down everything sports.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
So we'll get right to it. Let's so Stephen A. Smith, as we know from ESPN's First Take, now has his own podcast on YouTube.
Uh-oh.
And I'm glad that Stephen A started his own show because to me, he's always had his own show somewhere, whether it was on radio or whatever. First Take, which is his show, it's starting to get a little crowded almost. You know, you're starting to see a lot of
Right.
extra people coming in. You forget that it's Stephen A's show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's like, all right, I'm glad he's doing this. But now he has free reign to talk about what he wants. He had dropped a couple of F bombs and everything else. I
Yeah.
mean, he's not governed by the FCC.
Right. The whole thing with First Take, like right after he got rid of Max, well, ESPN got rid of Max.
Mhm.
He brought in that format, kind of like Stephen A. versus the world
Yeah,
type thing, where everyone else is coming. And that worked fine. But now you got Mad Dog in there on Wednesday, and now he's talking about possibly bringing Shannon in,
yeah.
and it's like don't
Become
want
a
to get
little
too
crowded.
stale with this. Oh, everyone going against Stephen A. Type show.
Yeah, that become to me that has the potential of getting corny, and I don't want
Right.
them to get corny because I never thought that show was corny. And Stephen A. Smith takes a lot of flack from a lot
Yeah,
of different people.
most
Let's
definitely.
let's keep it 100.
Yep.
I don't agree with everything he says. I don't agree with all his takes, of course,
Hmm.
but he is very good at what he does. So Paul
Very-
George went on his podcast P went on his show and he's had some stuff to say about it. What I am gonna do is play a clip from the Stephen A's show where he addresses the things that Paul George was saying that was basically talking about he what did Paul George basically say? He basically said him and the guy Jackie Long was like,
it's unfair to
yeah,
sorry to cut you off. He was saying it's unfair to judge players or condemn them for unforeseeable injuries, which I feel you, but if you're injured every year, it's not unforeseeable, but whatever. Yeah, so basically that was the gist of what he was saying, and then it was the regular never played basketball before, blah blah blah.
Yeah. And
Like
he also complained about that. Exactly what Prime said, and he actually complained about Kawhi, about what Stephen A. said about Kawhi Leonard. So
yeah.
those were his main three things.
Right. So I'm gonna play a little bit of it and then we'll come back and we will discuss the whole situation. Now here's Stephen A on the Stephen A. Smith show. I guess that's what he calls it on YouTube. Coming up here. All right, let's go. Tell me if y'all hear the audio.
Is
Yes.
injuries, aka load management, or whatever the hell you want to call it. This is Podcast P commenting about yours truly. Listen to this.
I heard Stephen A talk about He could have, like, Kawhi could have gave you 10 minutes or 5 minutes. Bro, it's not about that. Like, if I got to go on the floor and I can't be myself, then, like, what the fuck am I on the floor for? Now I'm liable to get even more hurt. It was a dumb take.
Have Stephen A. Smith played any professional sports?
Hell no.
Exactly. So he shouldn't even be speaking on what y'all got to go through every day to put y'all.
And I don't think fans just really understand, like,
what y'all go
you
through.
try to play through injuries. That's the goal. If you can play through it, you're going to play through it. If you can't, there's a reason why. Like nobody wants to sit out for no reason.
I'm amazed.
He hit the Skip Bayless there.
Who the hell you dealing with? Any idea at all? I think it's important to give my resume. Don't you? I think so. Speaking of my man, Galen Gordon, he's here in Vegas with me, my brother. Great television producer. He sit right next to me. I think it's fair. Paul George, I've been covering the NBA since 1996. In 2 years, that would make 30 years. I was covering the NBA since you were in elementary school. I think I know a thing or two about basketball. And I also think that covering the sport the way that I do, and you know this, Paul George, because of your personal experiences with me and some of the things that I could have said about contemporaries and colleagues and others that I never did, that you know if something comes out of my mouth, it's not just my opinion. Players, coaches, scouts, player personnel directors, assistant GMs, presidents, owners. Do you really want me to sit here and talk about the Los Angeles Clippers? The perks and the treatment that folks have received and how the fans have been cut short? I could go there. Paul George, did you know that you're the 34th highest paid athlete in the world, according to Forbes magazine?
Wow. Didn't know
For the
that.
year 2023.
Don't go to work.
$51.5 million total. 9.3 million in endorsements. I could say I'm waiting for a championship, Paul George. That kind of money. But I happen to believe you would have had one had it not been for your injuries, because I think you're that gifted. So I'm not going to disrespect you like that. Plus, I got love for you.
Yeah.
Did you know that Kawhi Leonard is number 35 on the list? Last year? $50.5 million total. $8 million in endorsements the year 2023. If you combine your money with his money, that equates to $102 million in salary and $17 million in endorsements for a franchise that went the fuck home in the first round. I would repeat that, but I don't think it's necessary. One more thing, Paul.
Yo, he dropped the
228 NBA players have played more games than you. You're at 189 games over the last 4 years. 297 players have played more games than the 161 games Kawhi Leonard played over the last 4 years. Do I need to continue? I need to continue. Everybody saying no. Paul George, as you know, my sister Carmen adores you.
He said,
loves you to death.
right, and then he goes on and says his sister says, leave him alone. But we'll skip to some other. Let's talk about right here first, and we'll get back to it.
Kawhi Leonard's played 44 games in 4 years.
I think he's played. Yeah, I think he said like that. But
That's
now
less than two
remember, Kawhi. You have to throw in the fact that Kawhi did miss a full season.
He did.
In those 4 years, he missed the full season.
He said Paul George played like what, 150?
160 something, 161, I think.
But that is not including
2 seasons. That's not even 2 seasons.
Now, Paul George, when did he have that horrific injury?
That was years ago.
That was years ago.
Still on the Pacers, wasn't he?
Still on the Pacers.
Yeah, he's still on the Pacers. Yeah.
Please,
okay.
he's been on like
20 he's come back since then. Yeah. And he had
he was almost.
It's just been mostly knee injury, little nagging ankle injuries. I think it was a back once or twice, but
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, they're injured. They're getting injured. Obviously,
right.
We see that. I don't think anybody thinks Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are just not playing to not play.
Right.
But it's not. It's just not an overreaction to feel the way that he's feeling. If I was a Clippers fan, which I would never be a Clippers fan, but if I was a Clippers fan, I would be pissed. There's no way we're spending over $100 million for both of you guys.
Yeah.
And it's the and on top of that, it's the expectations too. It's the expectation of this guy came in, and if everybody remembers when he came into, he didn't play with the Lakers because he said he wanted to beat LeBron. So he goes and joins the Clippers and then says, "Oh, I'm not coming there unless you get Paul George." He went out and got Paul George, right? They're getting a new arena, I think, next year, right? He got the little commercial where he's got the, throwing shade at LeBron as usual, where he had the little crown dangling off the keychain, as in to say he's a new king of LA. So there's going to be a lot of extra. Then they have the 3-1 lead in the bubble, blow the 3-1 lead to Denver, where half the team didn't even want to be in the bubble. That was the year of Hot Wings Williams, Lou Williams, Hot Wings, right. So that was all, they blew a 3-1 lead to Denver and everything. So there's been a lot of expectations.
And
I agree with Prime when it comes to that. I don't really like the going in their pockets. Like, I don't really like that of how much they make, because that really shouldn't matter. The point is, you're a superstar on the team. You're never playing. You never go to work. You never come to work, and you're getting paid a substantial amount of money, and you are the franchise player. If he's the 12th guy on the team and he missed 50-something, 60 games, okay, so be it. But you are so-called, and let's not forget, Kawhi Leonard has load management, so he basically plays whenever he wants, practices whenever he wants, and let's not forget about all those little addict stuff we hear about with the plane and all this other stuff. So Kawhi Leonard pretty much calls his own shots.
He constructed.
And the only thing they ask you to do is play.
He constructed his team.
Yeah.
The same thing that people hate LeBron for. He constructed his team.
Yeah, the same thing that they blame. And I'm gonna tell you right now, Laker fan or not, Stephen A., I agree with him. I don't agree with going in their pockets, but the fact that they're paying that much money, you may have to have this same conversation with Anthony Davis come before long.
Right.
If he don't deliver.
But the thing is, Anthony Davis has delivered a chip already.
He's delivered a championship.
So that's the thing.
That's why you can't really go.
He was hurt and everything in the playoffs. When he's there, he performed.
No, I have to say that, and that's not to get off the subject, but I have to say I was very pleasantly surprised and impressed that Davis was pushing through those injuries. He was sustaining through the playoffs.
His defensive playoff runs I've seen in years.
I was very happy and very, very surprised and very happy that he did it. All right, so we're gonna continue a little bit more. I jumped up to the part where he started.
I just want to touch on one thing real quick.
Yeah,
I definitely hear what you're saying, Hev, with going in their pockets, but I feel like in situations like this, is kind of is kind of warranted. Like,
Justified.
look, all these people in the NBA, they all deserve the money they got, they got. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if you're
Right, he ain't saying they don't
100
deserve it.
million,
Yeah.
if you're taking up 100 million of your team's money and you guys aren't playing most of the
Right.
time,
I agree.
restructure
Yeah.
something, throw a little extra bread at somebody else to bring in a third.
Right.
guy. When you decide not to go to work, somebody else can do it. Like,
And that's not
That's
and
true.
let's you know, to keep it 100, he never says that they don't deserve it. He's
Right.
just saying the facts. This is how much money you get paid, so you wonder why people complain. So let's get to the point. Now he jumps on to the point with Jackie Long and what he says.
You see, Jackie Long, the problem that I have with what you did is only the one thing you said, which was the question you asked Paul George. My brother, I'm 55. Did you know that I started out my career covering calendar items and school lunch menus and birth listings? Did you know that I worked for free for a year while I was taking 18 credit semester hours as an HBCU? Did you know that I started off covering Pop Warner football for a weekly newspaper? Did you know that I ultimately worked as an intern in Winston-Salem and the Atlanta Journal-Constitution and the Greensboro News and Record? Did you know that I spent a year living off of tuna fish and Kool-Aid? Did you know that I ultimately started my career off at the New York Daily News as a high school sports writer, covering the Stephon Marburys and the Felipe Lopez's of the world, Kareem Reeds and other guys like that? Did you know that my first interview as an intern was given to me by Nate Tiny Archibald? Did you know that when I was a high school reporter for the New York Daily News, Isaiah Thomas, the great Isaiah Thomas, the two-time champion in the Hall of Fame and one of the greatest point guards in NBA history, did you know that Isaiah Thomas stopped talking to the press just so he could walk over to me as a high school reporter and give me my first exclusive interview to a professional athlete?
Nice.
Did you know that two giants in the history of basketball, Clarence Big House Gaines and John B. McClendon, who helped organize the game in the middle of the night at Duke University because blacks and whites weren't allowed to go up against each other? Did you know that they were my mentors? That they the ones that taught me the game of basketball? Did you know that same John B. McClendon invented the fast break? Did you know that he learned the game under the late creator, James Naismith? He was the one that used to be sitting in the stands watching when we would practice. Did you know they sat me down because they knew that I wanted to do what I'm doing today, and they were coaching me on how to be a conscientious observer of the sport, and they wanted me to be real and authentic and build my career while at the same time protecting people like you, to spearhead the way for people like you to follow down the road? Did you know that when I got to the Philadelphia Inquirer, I got promoted 9 times? Did you know that in 2003, I became the 21st African-American to be named a general sports columnist in American history? Do you know that? Do you know that my credentials, all of these sorry asses that are out here talking their smack, that are looking at me and wondering who the hell am I to be in this position and all of this other stuff, do you notice that they never, ever grab a microphone and a camera and invite y'all to watch while they put their resume up against mine? Do you notice they never do that?
Talk your
Because they'd
shit.
expose themselves and they'd have to reveal they never accomplished
right now
what I've accomplished.
Yeah, that's right.
I have people around me all the time who will validate everything that I've said as fact. Look it up.
Yep.
No, I didn't play basketball.
Right.
I'm an elite journalist.
Ooh.
I'm an elite commentator. I'm a host of the #1 sports morning show that's been #1 for 11 and a half years and counting. That's one of the reasons why yo ass decided to talk about me. Gonna get some more clicks, ain't you? I know how this works. I'm one of the people that helped create it.
Thanks.
So when you sit here and you say something like, yo, don't talk. Who is he to talk about basketball? Jackie Long, don't you realize you're hurting yourself? My brother, I'm here doing this so people like you could be doing this years later. I don't have forever. I got some time, but I ain't 25. I ain't 35. It's people like you and others on the come up that's going to have a microphone and going to have a camera and going to have a studio and going to be in a position to do all of these things. What if somebody came and said, you have no business talking sports? When I just gave you my credentials. You ain't stupid. You a smart brother. You know my resume. And by the way, you're an actor. But you talk sports.
Exactly.
How the hell do you get to sit next to Paul George and talk sports, but I can't talk sports?
When did you play in the NBA?
Sports.
Right.
Paul George got his podcast. I got mine. Paul George don't have a number one television show. Paul George ain't been number one for 11 and a half years. For all I know, Paul George, how the hell you know what I said about Kawhi? Because you were watching First Take, wasn't you?
Oh man.
First of all, I had to wait for a second because I didn't know if he was just pausing for dramatic effect again.
Right. Like I said, I get chills when I heard that. I was getting chills
We can't hear you,
as
Dub.
he's running down his resume.
Yo, Dub, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
No, we can hear you. We can't hear you, Dub.
So my thing is, the other thing that we didn't hear that he also said was,
You hear me now?
Now we can hear you.
Sorry
Yeah,
about that.
you had yourself muted.
Okay. I'm glad that he brought that stuff up because I'm sick and tired of hearing these things. Now I understand to a degree, sports athletes talk about, you never played the sport. But the bottom line is this: when you are an actual sports journalist and you've been doing sports, talking sports, covering sports for decades, for years. Now he just ran his resume down. First of all, the man came from the bottom up. So I know I know these people. We used to talk about Mike and the Mad Dog, how I remember when all of this podcast and stuff first came into play. And Mike and the Mad Dog used to be like, oh, they would make a comments on it like, wow, we were just talking to Tom Brady. Then Tom Brady gets up and goes talks to this kid who has a podcast. They're getting in the same doors that ESPN is getting in and FAN. So that alone is frustrating. But the fact that he's put all this stuff together, ran down his resume, and he actually wasn't even done, but he still, just had to put a little taste out there for you.
Give you an idea.
And like he said, I'm glad he brought up Jackie Long. You're an actor. What qualifies you to talk about basketball?
That was the first thing.
Stephen A is definitely more
not an elite
qualified than
actor
you.
either.
If you want to say that Stephen A is not more qualified than a basketball player, which that isn't even always true, because a basketball player plays basketball, doesn't mean some of the newer basketball players, they don't even really know the history of basketball. They just play because they're talented, they're athletes, they're gifted. But they don't always someone like LeBron is a historian of basketball. He knows basketball, right? So once again, if Stephen A been doing this since you was in elementary school.
This is the year I was born.
He don't have a right.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
It's ridiculous to think. And the thing is, I don't even think it's frustrating for Stephen A. Smith to see these guys have such an easier time to break into this, because that's exactly what he was speaking on in the video. This is what he was trying to do. This is what he was trying to do, was open these doors so that they can step in and do it way easier. And that's the point. Like, if you're not doing that, especially for your own, like, obviously for anybody, but especially for a black man, you know what I mean? Like, as another black man. So to me personally, I don't even think he was upset about that. I just think that at the end of the day, that it's just ridiculous for somebody of Stephen A. Smith's stature, or where he's been, what he's done, to have to be questioned, not just by Paul George, who is literally critiquing him on doing his job when he's doing his job. Like, what a podcasting being what Stephen A. Smith does, right? But you're mad Stephen A. Smith speaking on your job. So because you do podcasts now you are fully verified. You can just talk on anything you want. Doesn't make any sense to me. Jackie Long of it is a whole different conversation. Jackie Long, listen, Stephen A. Smith said he's an elite commentator and journalist. He's right. And Paul George is an elite basketball player. Jackie Long is not an elite anything that I know of.
Right.
No.
Respect.
Nope, he's not an elite actor or a podcaster.
Exactly. And that's not even trying to be a diss to him, because hey, brother, make your money, bro. Respect.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you can't come at somebody. So has he played professional bat? Because I better not hear you ever critique somebody then.
Yeah.
Ever.
I'm so tired of that. I mean, and like I said, I'm gonna be honest with you. I used to be in agreement with the athletes that are now commentators. I used to be in agreement when they say stuff like, you don't know, you don't understand, and I think it depends on the circumstance too.
Yeah.
Like, certain things. Like if you're a football player and someone who's never played football talks about, well, like injuries or something like that. Like, you don't know how hard it is to, play this sport and play injured. Every single football player plays injured.
Yeah.
They play injured. It may not be an injury to keep them off the field, but that's why it takes a certain type of person to play football, because you're always injured.
Or hurt. Well, you're always hurt.
Hurt.
Always
Not
hurt.
injured, but you're always hurt.
That's the difference. Basketball players say injured all the time. Football, it's injured or hurt. You hurt, go out there, bro.
You can play hurt.
Yeah.
Football players play hurt all the time. Some of them play injured.
Some play injured.
But that is definitely a big that they definitely have football mentality is definitely a whole nother level. But it's the thing about Stephen A. that I like. I'm not going to drag it on, but the other thing that he spoke about as far as Kawhi goes, that Paul George had a problem with him saying, "Oh, Kawhi should just retire." And Stephen A. Smith brought up a very good point, and people may not, I think it went over a lot of people's heads. He said, Kawhi Leonard, the reason why he said that is because, he missed he load manages through the season. He missed playoff games. Going back toward a couple of years ago, he's missed playoff games, didn't miss a full season.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is when he's in there, he does nothing for your brand. He don't do commercials. He don't promote. He's sitting on the sidelines. He's not engaged. He's not walking out with LA Clipper hats on. Like he does nothing for your brand at all. It's like he's played into this non-emotion. It's like he's played into that. So, and it's like, if you are not going to play, do something for the team, promote the team, promote your brand, do something. He's on the side, he's off to himself. You know what I mean? It's like, so I agree with that. And a lot of people like, he doesn't have to promote. Yeah, you do. You're not doing anything for the team if you're not. So a lot of times when he's hurt, he's not on the sideline. He's rarely on the sideline when he's hurt. He'll stay home.
Yep.
Yeah.
He won't even come to the game, cheer the team on, try to help the coach or whatever. So he basically said, if you're not going to play the majority of the games and you're not going to do that, you might as well retire. And he called him the worst superstar in NBA history. He didn't say he's a superstar, but he said for that reason he called him the worst superstar. And I'm sorry, I can't disagree with Steve.
I can't either.
3 times 50 because Kawhi Leonard has 2 Finals MVPs. Kawhi Leonard has Defensive Player of the Years, first team All Defense. The dude is an animal. He's gonna end his career with less points than Andrew Wiggins and Danilo Gallinari.
That's crazy.
That's
wild.
respectfully.
That don't even make sense.
That's the crazy.
That doesn't even that doesn't even
Right,
make
and
sense.
as much praise as he gets, that's a great point that DJ less than Danilo Gallinari
Danilo Gallinari is gonna end with more career points than him.
That is
and
crazy.
Andrew Wiggins, and they're not mentioned nowhere near Kawhi Leonard.
And hell, Andrew Wiggins got what? He got 1 ring or 2? Did he get 2 with
Got
those
1 ring.
guys?
So
He
he's
got 1
halfway to
ring.
being LeBron, basically. Kawhi, basically. No,
Being Kawhi, right?
and
Well,
just
Kawhi has what? Kawhi got what? 2 or 3? He got 2.
He has
Two.
2, and both were Finals MVPs. But the first
Yeah.
one, if we're being real, that was BS because LeBron averaged like 30. So congrats, you held him to 30 instead of 31. But that's not a Finals MVP.
Right.
All right, before we make our final take on this, let me just play the last part of it where he ends his little thing there. It's very short.
And Jackie, here's the deal. I can guarantee you one thing. I will show you far more deference and respect than you ever thought to give me.
Mm.
Paul George is just saying what he said. It's fair game. I don't know you that well, Jackie. I deserved better from you, bro. I deserved better than that. Because if I'm not allowed to talk basketball, if I'm not allowed to talk about professional sports, how many brothers you think gonna get a chance to do it in the future?
Mm.
How many brothers you think gonna achieve my resume? Spanning 30 years.
Mm.
That's why I'm upset that you asked Paul George that question and then made that remark. That's crossing the line. That's not fair to me.
Mm.
If nothing else, I've earned the right to express an opinion about basketball in my career.
Mm.
To express an opinion.
That's it.
That's the key right
there. And that's, I'll leave it at that. If nothing else, he's earned the right to express an opinion about sports, and it's particularly in this case, basketball. You can't deny that. I don't care what all these other, podcasters that come up that just hate Stephen A. Smith and they make these stupid takes. And I'm not up here to just to get on other podcasters, but it just makes me sick because it's just like, listen, the facts are the facts. This man is a professional at what he does, and he's the best at what he does. He's a champion at what he does. So you, especially someone who, to be honest with me, Paul George don't have the right to say he can't discuss basketball and have an opinion about it, because he did say, I didn't play that part, but he did say, I'm a champion at what I do. Can you say the same? Can y'all say the same? No, because Jackie Long is not a champion at acting.
Jackie Long never won an Oscar.
You never won an
Paul
Oscar.
George never won a championship
that
or
would
an
be
MVP.
the equivalent. That would be the equivalent of a champion in acting, winning an Oscar, or since he's a television actor, winning an Emmy. That would be the equivalent of being a champion in your field. And we already know Paul George has not. So really, do you know what I'm saying? And like I said, I'm not going to be a hypocrite about it, because sometimes I used to get on Skip Bayless, who also has a lot of experience covering sports for many years. And I used to get on him when he would, come at athletes and it's like, yo, you never played the sport. Like I said, it depends on the context or whatever, certain things. Now, if Stephen A. said certain things in certain contexts that I didn't agree with, then I would say I don't agree with that. But at the same time, all he is doing is basically expressing an opinion.
Yeah, and it's not
based on the facts that he has gathered.
All right, Prime, what's your final take on it?
I just personally, obviously, I'm taking Stephen A. Smith's side. One, I'm never for. There's no reason for us as black men to just tear each other down for no reason. I don't like that. I mean, Obviously, if you really feel disrespected and you want to speak on something, that's on you. But personally, this is a take that's being said by a bunch of different people.
Yeah.
And Paul George wouldn't come at a white reporter for it because that looks bad. You know, it makes him look angry and things. But this bull, because respectfully, if there's any reporter out there that hasn't played basketball that you want to give your respect to, it's one that's opening doors for your people. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what Stephen A is doing. So personally, I don't even think it's right that he ever had to even address this. I think that they shouldn't have been stepped on. And if it was, I wish somebody else would have stepped up and addressed it before Stephen A ever had a chance to, because I don't think it should have even gotten to him. And personally, I barely know who Jackie Long is, so I can't really speak on his career like that. But from what I've seen, you're not in a position to. I've never seen him on an NBA basketball court, so I don't think he's in a position to speak on basketball, and I don't know why he's speaking on basketball, because that's what he said about Stephen A. So,
and what do you think, Hollywood?
You know, I deal with this a lot with Stephen A. And you know, I've been watching Stephen A. Like my dad, God bless the dad, would always say, you know, oh, there go your guy. You know, whenever he would say Stephen A. on TV. It's just so you know, I have a personal take in it because I'm gonna try to keep the personal feeling of it out of it. As Prime said, Stephen A. is representing for the black young man who may not have ever got a chance to play sports, but knows sports, or may not have got a chance to make it to the NBA. Not every there's only very few men like that in the world who are lucky enough to make it to a professional level, right? So if you go and say, you know what, I'm not going to make it into pro sports, but I'm going to dedicate my life into, I love it so much, I'm going to dedicate my life into talking and analyzing about it. And he goes and does that and puts in the same type of work that he would be doing if he was playing the sport.
Right.
He did that. He did the equivalent of that. Went to college for 4 years, like playing college sports, and was working in the field while he was in college. Was working in the field while he was in high school. That's equivalent of playing high school sports. And now he is on the biggest platform of the sports Bible, pretty much of talk to radio, and he's on that network because of all the hard work he put in.
Yeah.
So I think it's disrespectful to Stephen A. Smith and to black men.
To black men. I agree, because all of us, when you just mentioned about he represents that black man. Now let's be honest. Most men, period, we grow up, we play sports when we're younger. We all aspire to be athletes. We've all three of us at some point in our life has played sports. And if we're not playing it professionally right now, right? So he took it a step further and decided that he's going to still dedicate his life to sports.
Yeah.
Right. And he's doing what he could do. So I agree with you there. Yeah, I agree with you there, Hollywood. He's just, he's representing all men, especially black men, that may have not been able, for whatever reason, to play the sport. And like you said, it's such a small number of people that make the NBA. There's a small number of athletes that make, even smaller, that make the NFL. Yeah. So, it's disrespectful. It's not fair to him, and I think he handled this the best way. He didn't yell not one time. He didn't do his signature Stephen A. yell.
He started to get a little hyped up at one point.
Started to get a little bit, but he caught himself, and I love that he delivered this with the calmness and smoothness that he did, and confidence. And he had to flex a little bit. It needed to flex a little bit, and that's why I was saying talk yo ish and flex. So that's pretty much our take on this. What do y'all think? Comment down below. Let us know what you think about the Stephen A. Smith rant. Do you agree with him? Does he have the right? Or are you gonna be that person that says whatever? Put your opinion. Comment down below. Always like and subscribe.
For reference, only 4,706 NBA players all time as of February 2022. Wow. So
that's nothing.
Just for reference, all you guys out there, 4,706 people in America have played professional NBA basketball in America, played at least one game. So in that case, he'd have the worst podcast on the planet if only people who played in the NBA can speak on it and comment on it, and because that's a very small amount of people, and you got that a lot of those people probably passed away as well. So
yeah. Oh my God. So
great number there, Brian.
Yeah, that's a great. Thanks for bringing that stat out. And like I said, comment below, like and subscribe, and we'll catch up with y'all next time.
Yes, sir.
Peace out.
Peace.